Hello and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore 40K, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our Drukhari from our Dark Angels, our Tyrannids from our Tau, and our Craft Worlds from our Chaos Marines, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer 40K stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about 40K. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Hey there.
Who knows absolutely fuck all about 40K.
True, I'm not a cat.
And my dear brother Darren.
What?
Who knows so much about 40K, it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. Over the years, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
Ignorance.
Morning, fella.
Morning, fella. What you saying? What you wearing?
Just marigolds.
Have you noticed
Mate.
that he's not worn his tank tops in quite a while, Chris?
He's lost it.
He's lost it. He's lost
He
tank
used to
top
have
confidence.
it, and now he's lost it.
Yeah.
It's probably because he went to that, what was it, the space camp he went to? Void camp.
Void camp.
I went
Listeners,
to,
prior to the record, Ben mispronounced the test that they give in Blade Runner.
It says Void Camp. I'm looking at it right
little
now.
bit Aryan, didn't you? A little
Yeah.
bit.
How'd you pronounce it? Void
Void comp.
Comp. That A should definitely be an O, man. That is. That's not
Well,
fair.
that's how it.
It's not
That's
fair.
That's how it starts, Ben. It is suddenly you're all over Europe. Yeah.
Oh, look at this neighbouring country I accidentally invaded.
Oh, yeah.
In for a penny, in for
Well.
a pound.
Yeah, this is my friend Craig, who moves quite quickly. No? Blitzkrieg? No? Never mind. Please yourselves.
Crowley.
Yo.
So we got another message from Inquisitor Randall McDangle.
Oh,
where it
God, I
says-
forgot he even existed.
It was literally last episode. What have you been doing? Anyway, it wasn't a voice message. It was just an email, a space,
Okay. Yeah.
a spemail. No, that's something different. So he was just saying that he feels that you might benefit from some positive reinforcement because obviously,
Okay.
his message
About
last
goddamn time. Yeah.
his last stance was quite harsh, you know. So he said
Cunty.
basically, if
It
you
was
get
cunty.
if you get over 90%, he'll buy you a beer.
Okay. It's a
Which
shame
is
I don't
nice.
drink, but sure, thank you. Yep.
Okay. But I mean, you know, in light of that uncharacteristic gesture, I thought I'd mark the occasion with a new jingle. You ready?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, my name's Kral. No, what?
Don't spoil this for me, Darren.
Citizen of the Imperium, it's time for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me.
You got a child
Where are you
under
getting
10
these
years
kids from?
old to say it's time for a frontal lobotomy or a bottom in front of me.
A bottle.
Is that what's happened?
Not a bottom. A bottle.
Oh,
God.
Thank Christ.
Cut.
Thank Christ. Yeah. Whoa.
Jesus, a bottle, lads. That's Randall was offering a beer. He didn't say, Grell, if you get over 90%, I'll moon you. Oh dear. Right, before we crack on, just need to say a massive thank you to our dear friend Fiona for recording that for us, and to Helena, who did our outro for us, and of course the man who brought these two wonderful human beings into the world, Michael. So thanks, guys.
What about Michael's parents who got Michael into the world?
Yeah.
And then their
What
parents.
about
yeah,
Michael's
those,
wife?
You know?
Yeah. I mean, Michael's wife didn't have anything to do with arranging her children to record those things, so I didn't think to say.
Apart from bringing them up, then.
Oh, I mean, yeah, okay. And let's
Oh
maybe
my God, you're such a
the
pig.
grocer and the butcher down the road who provided their
We should all-
food. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Kral, are you ready
Yes.
for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me?
I'll take the latter, please.
Okay. What two alternative names is the warp known by?
What is the warp known by? The Chaos Realm?
Yeah.
Is that an answer?
What,
What's happening
3
there?
names?
Okay, what 3 names? Let me reword what Randall was saying here. What 2 alternative names specific to 40k is the warp known by?
Okay. Not the webway, because that's the one in between the Chaos Realm and the actual and reality.
Well, hang on. You weren't being asked for what it's not called.
This is the process, Darren. All right, this is my process to get to the answer. It's definitely not elephant, and it's definitely
Webster's Dictionary defines the warp as. Yeah.
This is going to be a long episode if you need to go through every word that it's not.
I'm pretty sure it's not a waffle iron. Okay, specific to 40k. The warp is known as, well, it's got to be the Chaos Realm, right? It's
no,
the realm of chaos.
No. No.
How do I not know this? I mean, I'm actually angry at myself here. Oh my god! All right, I'll lobotomize myself. I'll save you the fucking. I don't need to. I basically am lobotomized, aren't I?
Look, I don't know why you're fighting this process, Kral. It's just this is the way it goes now, right?
I think for the first time in the 3 years we've been doing this, I'm actually worried. I'm like, I should know this.
Okay,
go on. No, I give up. Go on.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the names is the Sea of Souls.
The Sea of Souls. Yeah.
You knew that. Yeah. And the Immaterium.
The Imperium. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, I wouldn't have got that.
The Sea of Souls. Yeah.
Right. Second question. Name the 4 steeds of the Chaos Gods.
The foreskins of the Chaos Gods.
Steeds. Not
mounts.
Okay, fine.
Name the foreskins of the gods. Jesus Christ. Floppy.
I thought that was just me that named it, but okay. The 4 steeds, as in the personal mounts, not just their battle steeds, like the juggernauts and things like that. They're actually their personal.
Yeah,
exactly. The steeds within the pantheons.
Oh, Inquisitor Inquisitor Randall? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Inquisitor Randall, you bugger. Oh.
Well, you got the first one. Let's get you started on the first one. The first one was Juggernauts. The Juggernauts of Khorne. You said that.
Yeah, but you said. Sorry, I thought you said it wasn't just the pantheons. It wasn't. It was like their personal.
No, it's the
Pegasus. Do you know what I mean?
No. Just in the pantheon, each.
Okay.
God
All right.
had a
Juggernauts.
Steed. Right.
Juggernauts is one. The flying discs of Tzeentch.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. What were the mounts of Nurgle? I'll go back to that. And then who's the other? Slaanesh. Were they the Aardvarky type? They're all a bit Aardvarky, aren't they? That's a little bit of a get out. Sorry, I retract that. Yeah.
Bit redundant.
Top to bottom.
Yeah. Never bottom to top, then. Never bottom to top. Okay, flying discs of Tzeentch, Juggernauts, and I'm spent. Don't know. What are the Nurgle and Slaaneshi ones?
So Nurgle is it called a palanquin?
A palanquin, yes.
Palanquin. So it's like a
Krallanquin.
A Krallanquin carried by loads of tiny little Nurgly.
Yes. Yeah, little tiny Kralls. Yeah.
And the Slaanesh one, I wrote snakes. I can't. Randall wrote snakes. I don't think he knows what the steed of Slaanesh is.
It's the ridiculously called Steed of Slaanesh. That's actually what it's called.
That would have been really shit. That would have been great if Kral had just been like, yeah, I know them. It's the Steed of Khorne, the Steed of Nurgle, the Steed of Slaanesh, and the Steed of Tzeentch.
Yeah, it's the one that has like an aardvarky head, a snake body with breasts, and 2 like ostrich legs.
Do you know what, Kral? I'm going to give you that because you said aardvark.
I mean,
it doesn't matter because you weren't able to. Yeah, you weren't able to name all 4, but it was a solid effort, mate. 3 out of 6. Okay, we talked about the Daemon Primarchs. Can you name the 6 Daemon Primarchs?
The Daemon Primarchs. Is Angron one of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Angron. There is someone, the Changer of Ways. What's his
False?
name?
No, the Changer of Ways is one of the pantheon, isn't it?
False.
Changer
of Ways is Tzeentch.
It's the other name for Tzeentch.
Yeah. I thought it was that or that. Okay, fine.
The Changer.
I do, and I even remember the minis as well because when we went into Element Games, great shot by the way. When we were over at Warhammer Fest earlier this year, I saw them all, so I can picture them all. And I remember the Nurgle Daemon Primarch had he was like a big old wings and shit. They all have wings, though, don't they? I give up.
Big old wings and shit. That's pretty much his name. That's pretty much what he looks like. Yeah.
And that's what they're all called. Big old wings and shit 1, big old wings and shit 2. Right, so you
big old wings and shit the 3rd.
Yeah. Big old wings and shit continued. So you have Fulgrim, who is the do you know what? I'm not even going to attempt that because I'll definitely get it. You had Fulgrim, Mortarion, who's the Nurgle one that you mentioned.
Okay, Mortarion.
Eric the Red. You remember Eric
the Red from the Thousand Suns?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Wow, yes, that's it. Yeah.
Fucking A, man.
You're asking the wrong questions, mate.
Yeah, I should be asking those really small, weird details that you remember.
Exactly.
Peter Abo, you remember Peter Abo?
Pete.
Perturabo, Lorgar, and of course you had Angron, who you've remembered.
Oh, the Demon Princes, basically the people that.
Oh, the Demon Princes.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the Demon Princes, right? Okay.
Oh, the ones that are in not the sea of souls, not the puddle of persons. Yeah.
I see. No, this is good. This is me learning, right? Because I'm connecting the dots now. I was like, Demon Princes.
You were supposed to be learning last episode.
Joined Horus. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm learning. Yeah, this is good for me.
Okay.
This is good.
All right. Final
it's good
question.
For you.
Carl.
Bad for my blood pressure.
Final question, Kral. Name 3 ways in which demons can enter corporeal space.
They can
anally, orally, and the other one.
What Darren said. They can certainly burst through an unfortunate psyker who loses their mind and loses their ability to contain the power, can't they? Just
well, I mean, we've all been there.
Okay, yeah, exactly. We can all relate. So that's one. In the case of Erich Magnus the Red, he threw a telepathic spear and basically ruptured the defenses of it. So could that also be used? Could the defense, as it were, the barrier between the corporeal world and the Sea of Souls, could that just be ruptured? Could that just be ruptured and they come through that way? Is that an acceptable?
Technically, yes. Technically, yes, it could. Or, well, whether it's a warp gate or an artifact that opens up a channel into the Imperium, yes, that is correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Was that one of the 3 answers, by the way? Was that
yes, technically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
What you've described in your kind of weird ADHD fashion is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one is through song and dance. They can dance their way from the Sea of Souls into the real world.
They moonwalk into the warp.
They shoulder shimmy.
Shake what your mama gave you.
Exactly. They twerk the way into the real world. How about that?
Well, again, a sliver of what you're saying is true because warp storms. If a warp storm breaches through into the real world, demons can, in fact, shimmy their way onto planets through that. But that would be a disgusting image when you consider the demons of Nurgle. All their innards flapping around the place. Oh.
Yeah, they just shimmy themselves into bits.
Oh, God. Like a dead cat in a tornado.
Anything more static, Kral? Anything less temporary? Like a big door?
That's already been mentioned?
Chaos Storm. Chaos something. I'm bored of this.
Okay. Right, Dar, you're gonna have to. Randall didn't send us the answers for those ones, so you'll have to.
So technically, it's warp storms artifacts such as corrupted webway gates or individual kind of pieces of technology that are able to open up such a portal, usually at the hands of chaos cultists. They'll either activate them or worship at them, which is disturbing.
We're worshipping around you, not at you.
Yeah.
We're worshipping about you.
Yeah. We love you, but we're not in love with you. Yeah. And then demonic possession, poor psychers getting penetrated, as they say in Ireland.
All right.
Through their souls. Yes.
Cool.
When I was saying static thing, I was talking more about like the Eye of Terror, but I think
that's a warp storm as well. That's a warp storm, Ben. No, you were right.
Oh, okay, right. But it was more. We were looking more for the category rather than the.
Oh, you mean a warp storm? Yeah.
Yes, right.
You see, Darren. You see what I have to work with here.
Well, Crow, do you know what, Crow? I'm going to give you a 1 for that. I think you did. So that was one.
I'm loving the sympathy points.
1 out of 4.
Sympathy
points. Unfortunately, that beer is.
I feel sorry for this loser point.
Oh, I've been on so many dates like that. What?
Right, before we move on, we have been informed by our one of our dear friends that it makes more sense for us to ask for help at the start of the podcast rather than at the end, because the likelihood is that an hour and a half into this shit, none of you are actually listening anymore. So,
way to subliminally advertise, Ben.
Smoke.
We are about to beg for money.
Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing.
We love you.
If you're not part of this merry band and by some miracle you end up enjoying this shit show, you can click on the Patreon link in the description and sign up today for as little as £3. This will give you access to our Discord, so you can join our merry little international group of time wasters. Kral, how would you describe Discord in one word?
One word? Oh, fuck.
Okay, 2 words. I'll allow you 2 words.
Absolute joy. Fucking love those guys. I love our community. And
love it.
Anyone and everyone should get involved. It's just an amazing place.
I
it's awesome.
Couldn't agree more. And I know that
terms and conditions apply.
Now,
your investment may go up and down.
Most likely down. Let's not give false hope. Also, if you are keen to support the podcast, but you don't fancy a subscription, there's a ton of other ways that you can do that. Just click on the supporters link in the description, where you'll find our affiliate links and other support platforms. Thanks again for listening. This has been excruciating.
Well done, Betty.
You mean, hang on. You mean I've lubed up for nothing? Is that what basically we're saying?
You never lube up for nothing, Darren. There's never a wasted lubrification.
Do you know how long?
Jesus Christ.
Do you know how long it took me to climb the stairs covered in lube? It was like,
how many attempts?
It was like a ridged flume. I'm not saying it was bad, but it was just. It took ages.
At least the ribs were on the inside for your pleasure. You know.
God.
Oh, dear. Right.
Kept making goofy noises.
Right, Dar, can we have some content, please?
No.
Okay.
Okay, what the hell did we cover last episode? Yes, chaos. And if I remember correctly, it was a pretty chaotic summary of chaos. So I thought we'd bring it down a notch. And then to the left, which is the sinister side, because we're going to talk about the mortal forces of chaos in the real world, in what I like to call the Desert of Souls. No,
the Desert of Souls.
The Desert of Souls.
Oh, the Desert of Souls.
That's right, my little puddings. We're going to talk about the forces of chaos. So what I thought we'd do is throw a bit more structure around this episode of content and describe really, or outline really, the 4 kind of separate things we're going to talk about. We'll first touch upon the Chaos Legions, which are the original, how many, Chris?
Fuck knows, 21 and a half.
That's right, 9. We're going to talk about the 9 legions.
Yes, Crow, in there.
of the original kind of Horus Heresy bent. We'll then have a look at more recent Chaos Renegades who go under the title of Renegades. We'll then touch on a kind of oft-misused term, warbands, which is used both as a adverb and a noun. That's exciting. And then
I don't know what either of those things are. I've never been able to get my head around what verbs and adverbs and nouns are. It doesn't matter how many times you explain it to me.
Verbs are doing words, and
verbs are doing words, describing words.
Wait for it. And are you done your description? It's gone. It's gone. I don't know. There's just some blockage in my head. It just won't allow it. So a noun is a describing word?
Yes.
No, a noun is
there you go.
name.
Perfect.
Both of you.
So is Ben a noun?
The day I teach you guys something is the day we stop the podcast. All right.
Technically, Ben is a pronoun.
Don't massage his ego like that. All right.
Yeah. You don't get more pronoun than me.
Moving on. What does it mean then for the forces of chaos in the physical world? Or what does it mean that there are forces of chaos in the physical world? These are oft used as the big bad of the 40K universe. So these are humans, sometimes non-humans, who have fallen to chaos, either through direct corruption, through warp storms or artifacts, or they've been recruited into chaos cults or infected by chaos cults, or indeed they have undergone so much trauma within the horrific reality of the Imperium of Man that their mind has broken and they've just turned to powers that want worship to be saved. And we touched last episode on the kind of 4 great chaos gods, and we'll do them in numerical order of their chaos numbers, and that's Slaanesh, Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch. And they represent excess, both sexy and non-sexy, for Slaanesh. Despair and life is really what Nurgle kind of looks after. Khorne is warfare, bloodshed, murder, killing. And Tzeentch then is both hope and mutation, so change in some fashion. Mr. Chris.
Nurgle is the god of despair and life. Nothing to do with disease as per the old world Nurgle? Are they viewed differently? Or
no, exactly the same god. They're just described slightly differently. He is the Plague Father. So he is referred to as the Plague Father and other kind of general relations that you might have with disease. But he is also viewed as a god representing life. Now, that does not mean life as we would understand human life. He would be perfectly happy if we were a diseased pile of mushrooms. That would be life. We are no different to that to him.
Which we basically are, aren't we, really?
40% of us is mushroom, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, the concept of Nurgle, I feel that, like, Nurgle is spoke about the most earnestly in terms of, like, at face value, he looks like a bit, well, you don't actually see them, do you? But, like, him and his followers summarize kind of a big plague-ridden, diseased, gnarly characters. But that belies the actual meaning of Nurgle. Nurgle isn't that. That isn't the essence of him. It's about rebirth. It's actually about, almost a paradox, it's about life and growth.
Yes.
And I think that it seems to be a bit of an effort to kind of make a point about that there's a bit of a paradox about Nurgle. Is that fair?
Sorry, is it at all the kind of West, you know how the Western idea of death is often quite separate from life as opposed to it being viewed as part of life, which is why I think we struggle to grasp that kind of other alternative meaning behind Nurgle, because, like, as the description is kind of clearly states, like the death that comes as a result of infection and plague is very much a part of life. But for us, that doesn't kind of sit right. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, this has taken a turn, hasn't it?
Got real philosophical.
Yeah.
But I think you've got a point. You know, maybe that's my view, my cultural background, kind of brushing it. I should say, painting it with that brush. You know, death and disease is like at the end. That's the way I've kind of inherently been educated, if you like. Whereas in many societies, death is part of life. Life is part of death.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. You make a compelling case, Chris. This will be our last episode in the grand flow of life.
Chaos solved.
And when you mean
Chaos
the last
solved.
episode, you mean the beginning of the next episode, right?
Oh,
yes.
Crow, you are good use of
In fact, in a very real way, we're already recording the next episode.
Oh my God. My tiny mind can't take this.
Speaking of tiny minds, let's steer back towards the average citizen of the Imperium who has, Kral, 2 words describe the lot of the average citizen in the Imperium of Man.
Submissive peasants.
There we go. And thus, the submissive peasantry of the Imperium don't really have that much in terms of either hope or kind of even ambition. So when an opportunity comes along for them to either stick the knife into their overseers or change their fate in some magnificent way, it's usually done through the, in quotes, kindness of chaos cults that come in, help them out, and suddenly they feel part of something that values them. There is no value to human life within the Imperium. With chaos, that's very much how they get in to the corporeal universe, or how they influence the corporeal universe. Thus, you see the growth of chaos cults on a lot of planets, including Terra. There are a handful of not only chaos cults, but gene stealer cults. What are gene stealer cults, Darren? Shut the fuck up. We'll deal with that in about 9 episodes. So chaos cults.
Glad I didn't ask that.
Wow.
Quite the reaction.
Well, it's a very touchy subject for me. So,
were you touched once by a gene stealer?
A gene stealer once plunged his ovipositor into me. And you'll understand what that means completely in about 9 episodes' time.
I will also be able to tell you what type of word an ovipositor is.
Go on, have a guess.
That's a real word.
Go on, have a guess. It is a real word, but have a guess.
It's a fake word. That's what kind of word is it?
1,
is it
no, and 2, it's a...
Is it an adjective?
No. It's a noun.
Okay. That makes more sense. I was going to say noun, but then I thought...
Hang on, what do you mean it makes more sense?
Well, because I was going to say noun, and then I just thought, no, you don't know what you're talking about, Ben. Go with the opposite of what you think.
The easy way to remember it is naming. A noun is a naming. Nuh for nuh.
You're just wasting your time.
If it's a naming word,
I'm
it's
40. It hasn't sunk in yet.
Listeners, these guys haven't realized it yet, but if you've listened to one of the more recent episodes of was it the fantasy one we did? Where it was the bastard episode. Do you remember? So this is the grammar episode.
Excellent.
Which is
grandma episode.
Laying down the noun.
Laying down the grandma. What?
Laying down the lore. God, it's fucking difficult to say.
So, chaos cults that draw in aspects of the Imperium within themselves. And by aspects, I have misspoken and I meant people. So, when a chaos cult gets large enough, they're able to have their members penetrate a lot of different organizations. Guys, great job on keeping your faces straight when I said both members and penetrate in the same sentence. Ben, what's a sentence? No, never mind. They're able to corrupt the kind of planetary organizations that they are a part of. So what you start seeing is you'll start seeing munitions, foodstuffs, equipment be reassigned to kind of dead hives where the Chaos Cult has its base. So they're building up enough equipment and personnel to be able to either take over a hive or in many cases take over a world.
So they'll squat. They're squatters. They'll just take over abandoned places.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And what you'll find is that as they grow in influence, they're able to get into not just kind of logistical organizations, but then get into political and military organizations on the planet as well. So you'll find that the PDF, the Planetary Defense Force that each imperial governor is required to have, can become corrupted. And so you see entire regiments of troops will be slowly corrupted, or their command staff will be corrupted. So thus, soldiers think they're fighting for the Imperium when they're in fact fighting for a chaos power. Mr. Ben.
How do they corrupt them? Because it strikes me as a kind of like you couldn't just kind of bring it up slyly in conversation, because you were like, so yeah, what's chaos is pretty cool, right? And then the other guy would be like, no, like, yeah, I disagree, and you're dead. Like, yeah, what do they do? Or do they just kind of like wave, dangle something in front of them, put them into hypnosis, and then bam, chaos?
Well, I think it's as different as, or it's as varied as people are. So in some cases, it'll be greed, bribery. In some other cases, it'll be they need to gain influence or have an opponent removed. It's very much the similar process we discussed when we looked at how chaos gets champions, how chaos corrupts citizens of the old world when we were discussing fantasy.
So it's manipulation.
Exactly right, yeah. It's manipulation, desire, but they do give something. But in return, they take everything. Much like Leonidas screamed in his weird Scottish Greek accent in the movie 300.
Okay, the new.
You've not seen 300, have you?
No. I love that. So they're like, guys, you can have a much better life, and it'll only cost you the low price of everything you have.
Everything sounds like a deal as well. Yeah.
That sounds like a deal, Mr. Demon, and I'm only trusting you because you've got horns. Bring that paper over here.
I mean, everything that a Imperium citizen has, actually, like relatively speaking, that's probably the world to them. But actually, is it a good deal? You know what I mean? Do some people acknowledge and realize that they have a shit life, and they actually, well, I've got nothing to lose. Fuck it, you can have everything. Or are there some, how's it viewed?
Yeah, again, it'll depend on their social class. So, a lowly scribe within the administratum, they really don't have anything. They will have been the 100th member of their line to be a scribe. And if they don't want to be a scribe anymore, they can give over everything. They have nothing to offer, except in many cases they actually do, because if you're a corrupted scribe, you can corrupt the messages you are transmitting, you are translating. So you can if you've got a handful of scribes at various levels within a single planet, you can corrupt the communications or corrupt the data and information sharing in that planet. So it's, the ones
just like throw in a rogue full stop here and there. Just
every now and then, yeah.
Using adjectives instead of adverbs, Ben. Woo!
Wow. Yeah, that's what I was going to
say. And thus, pleas for help or orders to the PDF regiment to go and purge this cult or what have you.
The PDF regiment just sounds so shit, doesn't it? It's just really compressed small files. Get out there.
All their buildings are made using Adobe. Moving on.
Well, always value your administrators, man. Always, you know, in any corporation, they are the cornerstone and the bottleneck if they want to be. So treat them well, because they can really ruin your day or make your day very, very easy. So shout out to all the admin scribes.
And shout out to all the waiting staff, because I've never understood the logic of shouting at people that handle your food.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how much saliva rude people ingest on a daily basis?
Not
Fucking
enough.
Mental. Anyway, moving on. Back to the real problems in the fake world. So we have...
Let's get into some verbs.
As you go up through the kind of hierarchy of a planetary's administration, you get to kind of the executive levels. And these are the ones that the forces of chaos really offer the world, in some cases literally to. And these are the ones that more often than not become chaos champions. Now, we've dealt with that in the fantasy podcast, but rather than kind of fob you off, we'll describe it here. So chaos champions are ones that are granted gifts from chaos gods for their loyalty and service, and ultimately will be able to lead one or more chaos cults to take over a planet, and thus that planet becomes a base for chaotic forces. In terms of gifts, it ranges from the obvious supernatural elements associated with the four chaos gods. So if you're a follower of Tzeentch, you can become an amazing psyker, even if you were born a non-psyker. Nurgle, you look a bit kind of chubby and diseased. I won't look in a mirror. And thus you're able to take over. You become tougher and you have greater endurance. With Slaanesh, you become this kind of decadent fop that's able to basically cornhole anything that exists and find it boring. And then with Khorne, you become this kind of supreme Genghis Khan warlord style character. There are, of course, ranks within the champions, and the ultimate kind of reward that a champion can be given is demonhood, where you ascend into the demonic pantheon of a chaos god and you become a demon prince.
I bet you get a little certificate with that as well. A little to put on the wall. Like.
You get a big handful of physical mutations, a load of chaos gifts, and a certificate. Yeah.
Wicked.
So the demon princes then are the ones that can command a lot of the mortal forces of chaos, and indeed there are demon princes that lead the demonic legions of chaos, which we touched on last episode. I think it's worth discussing kind of what happens to the different planets once they're conquered. And what I mean by that is there's various different ways that chaos corrupts the kind of administration or ruling body of a planet. So we went into depth into Necromunda there a few episodes back. Necromunda, dude. They have chaos cults within Necromunda, and the one that has been described to the fullest, I suppose, is the corpse grinder cults. These are the ones that are that manage the process of turning dead humans into Soylent Green, into corpse starch. And these are almost universally corrupted by the chaos cults of Khorne. So they are very kind of, well, quite literally, viscerally pulling apart humanity in Necromunda. Now, on other hive worlds, there have been instances where such cults, whether it's the corpse grinder style cults of Necromunda, have kind of taken over an entire kind of subsector of humanity, or of the process of humanity on a planet, and then have risen and destroyed whole hives and ultimately taken over a hive world. In those kinds of situations, the entire world comes into a kind of demonically run abattoir, where humans they either dedicate themselves to the worship of Khorne, or they are kind of ritually sacrificed or hunted or, and killed in the name of Khorne. Once it gets to a certain level, once there's a certain level of corruption and a certain level of kind of psychic turmoil around a planet, it's entirely possible for the warp to engulf the planet, for it to become a kind of area where kind of reality and the Sea of Souls merge, and you get what's called a demon world. And a demon world, in the example of a Khorne kind of worshipping abattoir, is where the very planet itself turns into a kind of engine of destruction, where it's trying to kill and consume in the name of Khorne. And any worshipper of Khorne who's powerful enough, and I mean physically and reputationally powerful enough, can in fact have the world change to their whims and needs. So suddenly you'll get battlefields will instantly clear and become a flat plain that you're able to fight on, or huge spikes of stone will come out of the ground, cats and dogs living together in marital bliss, all kinds of nonsense will happen.
Wow.
Now that's
very inclusive.
Yeah. So that's, for Khorne, you would have lakes of blood, rivers of blood, there'd be skull mountains, all this kind of stuff.
Little fountains of blood. A little Japanese garden of skulls and blood.
With a tiny little ornate blood bird bath in the middle. Yes.
Yeah. And a little rake to make those funny patterns in the skull dust. Yeah,
in the skull dust. Now, that's kind of all the aspects of Khorne. Slaanesh, who is Khorne's opposite.
Here we go.
Those kinds of planets will become one of two things, really. A demonic paradise world, which is just, it would look like heaven, but don't look underneath the surface, or you'll see, entire slave classes being whipped into oblivion to be able to power your orgasmic choir. The place will be awash with like a sea made of perfume or clouds made of kind of, how is it? Sexually
candy
assaulting candy floss. Yeah, that kind of idea. And you would have like gardens of unearthly delights where Slaaneshi Aardvark demons would do Aardvarky things so that you end up being complete. Tongues. I believe we've used the phrase tromboned before. A truer word has been spoken about what would happen to someone on a Slaaneshi planet.
The Slaaneshi garden of trombones.
So it becomes this horrific paradise world, or, as Ben hinted at the start, a tit planet. Fucking lunatic.
Is a tit planet a planet made of tits, or is it just one single tit floating through space?
I think it's dealer's choice, really, Ben, at this stage.
It's 50-50. It could go either way.
Now, because we are a compassionate and inclusive podcast, you also get something called the Wang World. I'll leave it to yourselves.
Nice. Leave it to yourselves. Is it a collection of wangs, or is it one big wang? We'll never know.
Who can say? And then Nurgle, really, it's variations on a theme of disease. You get plague planets, pus planets, planets made completely of intestines that then rupture and chaotic demons come out. And all of these will have been originally corporeal worlds, imperial worlds, that have been like industrial civilized planets, like our own planet. Imagine our own planet turning into effectively a suppurating big toe, and then demons, obviously, etc., etc. Mr. Ben.
I know that you've described the Imperium's ability to annihilate a planet with something like a virus bomb. Do they have a weapon like the Death Star? If they came across one of those planets, not literally, would they? Because all virus bombs going to do is kind of wipe the surface clean of organic material, is my understanding, and then set all of the sulfury, farty gases alight. But it's a planet like that, you just want rid of the planet. You don't want to just kill the surface of it, do you? So can they destroy whole planets?
They can render whole planets inert,
Right.
if that makes any sense. They have the capacity to completely wipe out all organic life so that it is in fact just a bare rock. And this is kind of anathema to the forces of Nurgle, who relish life in all its forms. So listeners will may or may not remember that a virus bomb basically dissolves everything that's based on carbon into a liquid. And so much methane and other gases are released that it invariably ignites, and then the entire planet burns off all its organic life. So the only things left are molten rock, molten metal, and dust from the organic life, meaning that Nurgle would have no position there at all.
But you said that they had, Nurgle would have, a planet made of intestines. Is
Yes.
there any rock on that planet, or is that a planet just straight up intestines, right down to the core?
Again, dealer's choice. We're talking about the absorption of a planet into a reality of total potential, where you can be anything.
Okay. So actually, the virus bomb would be pretty fucking effective on a planet made of intestines, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Dissolve the whole planet.
Yeah,
Right,
there'd be just some sort of great fart in the void and it would die.
Oh, that's Nurgle 1 gone.
Yeah, we've succeeded. High Inquisitor, we have succeeded, but we're going to be scrubbing out the air filters for quite some time.
Was it worth it? Probably not.
Maybe. And just to close out the Pantheon, the demon worlds of Tzeentch would become every kind of concept of high fantasy you could imagine on fire with magic all at once, with buildings made out of crystal or shaped stone, like buildings, I suppose. And
word.
But everything is this kind of high concept fantasy landscapes, rocks floating on top of mountains, which are floating on top of badgers, all this kind of shit.
Say what now?
All dedicated to the worship of Tzeentch. So this is what ultimately happens to planets. Now, however long they stay in that state is very much up to two things, really. The whims of the kind of chaos warp itself as a place, because some of these planets will dip in and out. The planets can, in fact, almost instantaneously come into the warp and come out of it. And so when that happens, you can have partial corruption of entire continents. Or indeed of the whole planet. Some of them last a few months and come back out. Some of them will be in there forever. So ultimately, it's pulling in aspects of the corporeal universe into the warp, which, as you may have guessed, is sort of targeted. These cults target specific planets, strongholds, strategically well-placed planets. If they're going to try and draw a planet into the warp, they want the maximum damage possible to the rest of the sector. So frequently agri-worlds, which supply food to all the worlds around it, and in some cases a lot of other systems around it, if they're drawn into the warp, suddenly you have an entire sector which has to go without food or has to find a different food source, which means the rise of the kind of consumption of corpse starch, and thus corpse grinder cults begin to take control. And so you see a domino effect with other planets falling to chaos as it goes.
Right. I suppose the people on those planets would get more desperate as well, wouldn't they? Which is prime chaos clay for molding.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you have to recall that some of these planets are populated with a mutant slave force. Listeners will recall that mutants are viewed as not as people, and so are frequently purged or enslaved. And so you have whole planets where they have a mutant underclass which is empowered then by chaos, a chaos cult, and they rise up and, break the shackles of their masters. And suddenly you have an industrial world which is no longer able to provide munitions to a stronghold, and thus the reserves of the Imperium are diminished for a military campaign. Mr. Chris?
The life of a Chaos follower, it sounds like it could both be great, better than being an Imperium citizen, but also shit as well. I'm just trying to weigh up, is it any better?
Yeah.
Or is it just different?
The forces of chaos care even less about individual people than the Imperium. Unless you're on the path to becoming a Chaos champion. If you're able to become a Chaos champion, then all bets are off. The kind of universe will align to allow your success, or rather, it will align to allow you opportunities to succeed. They don't really spoon feed their champions as such.
But the opportunities are better than what you would get in the Imperium.
The lifestyle is better on the most part. What you also have to understand is that it requires you to give up some aspect of your humanity. So if you're in a corrupted military regiment associated with Khorne, all you want to do is kill. That's all you want to do. Because you've surrendered yourself to the urges associated with that Chaos God.
Do you get non-human Chaos followers like Tau or Eldari? Or squat or rattling Chaos followers?
It's a great question. You used to be able to get them very easily within the kind of game settings. That changed really kind of wholesale in 4th edition. There are novels that have characters who are corrupted Eldari. You used to be able to buy Chaos squats, so Chaos space dwarves. You used to be able to get them in their various forms of armor. There were very briefly
Kinder Egg armor.
That's right, yeah, for the kind of champions. You used to be able to get a kind of chaotically corrupted orc force, orc squad. It was a chaos warband of an orc, an orc who was corrupted by chaos. In general, I think they tend to be corrupted by Khorne. Very rarely do you get a sexy orc in 40K. But, never say never.
Speak for yourself, mate.
Yeah.
So most things that are human, abhuman, Eldari, orc, really they're the ones that are the most susceptible to corruption. Although that is a sliding scale. Necrons, pretty much immune to chaos. The Tau, same, but they are able to be kind of morally corrupted, but by a different force. So in general, when we talk about the followers of chaos, we're speaking of humans or abhumans. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So once a world is corrupted, you start seeing, in some cases, it issues out a kind of fleet of ships. Yeah, it starts if it's what we call a stable kind of chaotic demon world. You're able to use it as a base from which to invade and make war on other nearby planets and systems. And the champions of chaos then form what's called warbands. Now, I mentioned that this word is kind of used and misused. A warband technically is a company-sized or larger, so you're looking at least 100 troops, force led by a single Chaos champion, and they are dedicated to that champion. Now, these can be regular corrupted humans, so we're talking about the scribes that were forced to carry a lasgun, or the planetary defense force, or indeed corrupted Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum forces. All of those make good troops within a Chaos warband. Chaos champions then can either be of that kind of similar ilk. They will be officers within, usually they will have started as officers within a military force, a military human force, or sometimes you get a corrupted space marine who leads a mostly human Chaos warband. And this really is gang warfare played out on the kind of universal stage. So you will have warbands of various sizes and various complements of troops. Some of them will be the size of regiments that will have armored personnel carriers and tanks and aircraft and all the kind of logistical support required to keep them going under the command of either a Chaos Space Marine captain or a human colonel who has been obviously corrupted by Chaos. These then are able to make war in the kind of standard scale we see in 40K, which is total war. And thus, the forces of Chaos, when they arrive to invade a planet, are aided then by the Chaos cults that may already exist on that planet. So you're attacking both from above and below, and makes any such campaign more successful. Warbands then really break into two types. The type I've just described is the mostly human warband, which can be of regiment size or larger. So we're talking about up to 10, 12,000 troops. And frequently you get armies that combine of 3 or 4 of such warbands, and they will be able to take over a planet quite effectively, led by either corrupted human officers or a Chaos Space Marine who has taken over that role. You then have Chaos Space Marine warbands, and these are somewhere between 50 to 100 Space Marines, either from the original legions or from corrupted chapters. Those are loyalist Space Marines who have fallen to Chaos since the Horus Heresy. That's the distinction. Chaos Legions were the ones during the Horus Heresy. Chaos Renegades are after the Horus Heresy. And Chaos Space Marine...
So the Legion guys are they're the OGs.
They are, in fact, the OG. So Chaos Renegade warbands really are, if you imagine a regular Imperial Space Marine, it's all who is already the elite of the elite of the elite. You're looking at 100 of them tooled up for war, hating the Imperium with everything they've got for whatever reason, however they were corrupted, and are able to cut the head off, in some cases literally, planetary leadership and even sector leadership. So one warband can take over a planet relatively quickly.
Wow.
And by that, I mean within a couple of hours.
Are the Legion... Sorry, I can't remember the distinction you made or the names you gave them. Is a Chaos Space Marine from the Heresy time more powerful than a Chaos Renegade Space Marine because they've lived longer? Or they've been corrupted longer?
I'm kind of torn between a yes and a no here, because it's the distinction between the lore and the tabletop. On the tabletop, there's no real difference.
Right.
Okay? But in the lore, these guys have fought what's called the Long War, which is 10,000 years of utter warfare between the forces of Chaos and the Imperium. They've got to have learned a few tricks in that time that the Imperium haven't. So I would say lore-wise, yes, they are true veterans in the sense of in every sense of that word.
And I'm assuming, them being elite, they also have the boons of their Chaos God sponsor.
Well, let me just pause you there and scream into the mic, segue! So, segue. How do Space Marine chapters fall to Chaos, Darren? I hear you cry through munching Jaffa cakes.
One of them.
It's as varied as the leadership and individuals within a Space Marine chapter. There have been instances where a single Space Marine has just abandoned his chapter through whatever reason, corrupted in a very similar way to the corruption of mortal humans. The idea that Space Marines are immune to every aspect of the Imperium and every aspect of their own humanity is perhaps one of the biggest fallacies within the kind of 40K lore and its community, of which I'm a part. Don't send me emails.
Has anyone ever sent you an email? Do we even have an email address?
I got a nice message last week from someone, but that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
So individual Space Marines are as susceptible to chaos as humans are. Now, when I say that, I also have to acknowledge that they have got stronger indoctrination towards the Imperium and strength of will and character. But the idea that a single Chaos God can't ramp up the kind of seduction, corruption medley at a moment's notice to target someone who's got a bigger kind of sense of self is a bit nonsensical. The number of other Space Marines who follow that corrupted individual out of a chapter depends very much on the rank of the original corrupted Space Marine. So an individual Space Marine may be able to get a handful of squad mates to come with them. A sergeant can, through manipulation, get their whole squad to corrupt and leave. Lieutenants, captains, and commanders can get then 50, 100, or 1,000 Space Marines to just dedicate themselves to chaos through whatever form of corruption is required. All bets are off when you're dealing with Chaos Space Marine renegades. I'll give you an example. The Crimson Slaughter, which used to be the Crimson Sabres, I think that was their name originally, Crimson Sabres.
Formerly known as.
The Space Marines formerly known as symbol. They descended into a sort of blood madness where they were very effective at killing and taking over any kind of military campaign they got into. They attacked a planet whose name escapes me at the minute. I think it's...
Let's call it Wang 4.
No, Wang 4. Wang Chung. What? So they attacked Wu-Tang Floor, and I said floor, not four. Hilarious.
But it's fine. It's a Wu-Tang Floor.
Wu-Tang Floor. While a Cornate Chaos cult, that is a Chaos cult that worships corn, was trying to raise a demon.
Cornate.
And
sounds like an ice cream. I'll have a cornate with a flake, please.
Yeah, chaos flake, please. Yeah.
Okay.
And as they were purging this cult out of existence and restoring the planet to good order and compassionate Imperium rule, they were cursed by the cult to hear the voices of the dead, hear the voices of everyone they've ever killed. And
Yikes.
so over the space of a few decades, they went completely insane. The fact that they could only silence the voice while they were in battle didn't help the situation. So they were constantly at war. They constantly crusading, and eventually were excommunicated by the High Lords of Terra, which is the kind of order, the ultimate sanction that the High Lords of Terra can give a Space Marine chapter, which means you are a traitor force, and should any Imperium citizen in good standing should kill you as quickly as they can.
Wow.
And thus they descended into a blood-soaked madness and are staunch enemies of the Imperium and, in fact, anyone else who happens to come in their way, because all they can do to silence the voices, even for a moment, is kill.
Is that including other Chaos forces?
That's anyone. Anytime they take a life, they're more relaxed. Yeah.
I know the feeling.
How I feel.
So what are you up to this Sunday, Chris? Don't fucking ask. It's gonna be crimson, bro.
It's gonna be crimson, bro.
Hello, factory worker. Are you bored of your lot? Can't get out of your role at Corpse Starch Biscuitorium, forced upon you by the 90 generations before you who did exactly the same thing? We understand. Hello, highborn noble. Are you frustrated by your middle management position in society? Tired of the tedious longevity of those useless individuals in the hierarchy above you? We understand. At Boons R Us, we specialize at brokering discreet deals between people like you and incomprehensible ethereal entities who want nothing more than to help people like you, while simultaneously protecting each party's anonymity. Maybe Corpse Starch Biscuitorium is shut down pending investigation after a colleague goes berserk and murders the management team using a pair of dough whisks, freeing you to skip merrily into the wastes and join a cult, all courtesy of the Lord of Blood, Bjorn, not real name. Or maybe one of those useless ranking officials spontaneously explodes in a shower of body parts during an annual summit, which drives the other officials into a sexual frenzy, fucking each other to death and leaving you to reign supreme and rename the summit Cockfest. All courtesy of the Prince of Pleasure, Planesh, not real name. All this could be yours and more for the low, low price of everything you are and own. Boons are us. Just sign here, here, and here.
You can, using the Chaos Space Marine Codex, create a corrupted Imperium or a corrupted Loyalist Space Marine force. There used to be a good way to represent that is you would mix and match the Space Marine plastic sets with the Chaos Space Marine plastic sets. And so there would be these kind of hodgepodge miniatures. Miniatures. Try again. Hodgepodge miniatures. Nope. Nope. Can't do it.
Hodgepodge miniatures.
Yes, what you said, of force. Again, an important point to make is that these aren't just like, at the company level, it's not just like 100 armored lads running at you. They have all their armored personnel carriers, their tanks. Some of them come with aircrafts to provide air support. Some of them are able to steal entire strike cruisers and corrupt them. And so we're talking about a fully loaded Space Marine company or larger with everything that a Space Marine company has, if the corruption is manipulative enough. Mr. Chris.
In today's more progressive society, do we see female Space Marines?
No, that's a real kind of hot button topic amongst the community, and I don't know why. Space Marines have been universally male since the inception. That's really in the lore. That's the conception of it was this is a genetically enhanced fighting force of men. That is not to say there were not female Space Marine miniatures. There were two that came out in an Adventurers or Pirate Pack. And I think one of the managers of GW from way back when, I think a production manager rather than a store manager, was talking about how the reason we didn't have female Space Marines from the get-go was one of just the production technology at the time. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, and I am open to be corrected, as always, but I think it's a machining problem with the miniatures rather than a lore problem. You could ostensibly create gene seeds for female Space Marines. There would have to be some variation due to biology, but pretty much everything. All this,
you could just make it happen.
Yeah. From a fictional medical perspective, you could pretty much do everything you would need to do to convert a young boy into a Space Marine to do the same for a female.
I'd really like to see that. Maybe like in a future edition, they suddenly they reveal that Robert Bobby G has had a bunch of
is in fact Bobina G. What?
Bobina G. No, it just has like a bunch of of female Space Marines on the boil, and they're ready to go. I've seen some amazing like conversions on Instagram of people like converting into normal Space Marine soldiers, and just are they buying like 3D printed female Marine heads on Etsy or something? Is that how they do it?
They might be. I mean, for a while there were some good conversions between the Sisters of Battle.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
heads there, but they were a little bit too small. It made them look like the kids were born with some sort of condition or developed a condition during change. Chris, I see you, Chris. Just before I call on you, I was going to say that a lot of the talk that gets quite toxic online has to do with the physiological differences between male and female, and how female Space Marines would not be as strong as male Space Marines. That kind of thing to do with, physiological strength. My response to that would be, well, they just add in an extra little bit in this completely made-up fictional setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Where then suddenly the women are as strong as men who are Space Marines for who we have toy soldiers pushing around a table.
Who weren't going to naturally grow into that state anyway. They were massively augmented, so technically you could do with any being. Like,
yeah.
I guess the other angle is the exclusivity of females not being Space Marines kind of gives, I should say, sorry, this is the other way around, exclusivity to the groups like the Sisters of Science and Sisters of Battle. It gives them a bit more value. Do you know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah. I think it's more the principle of people saying, like, well, females can't be Space Marines. It's like, well, no, they can. That's clearly a ridiculous stance. But yeah, I think you're right.
I think they can. But I would say there's value to saying, well, from a story point of view, it gives the Sisters of Science, the Sisters of Battles, and the female driven groups and squads more value in a way. Yeah, more exclusivity. It adds a different angle to it, doesn't it?
I mean, my own personal position on all of this is there is actually no reason why there can't be female Space Marines. You'd have to change the in-setting kind of biological augments for it. It could be done. It just hasn't been done yet. That would be my position. Yeah.
Equally, then, could you have, if we were going to start bringing more females into the Space Marines, could you have more men brought into the Battle Sisters and the Sisters of Silence? The Brothers of Silence.
Well, the Brothers of Silence tend to be men who are married more than 20 years.
Hey! Nailed it.
We invariably just stop talking.
Because you did say that there were male pariahs.
Well, this is the thing. This is certainly a thing that kicks me in the back of the head is that, yes, there are the female pariahs become Sisters of Silence. There are male pariahs, and you see them as Collectus assassins. But Collectus assassins are both male and female. You can have either or. Right. And in many cases, if you use the polymorphine drug, both at the same time.
Yeah. Androgynous.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to be that'll be interesting to see the community's response to this section. For the handful of thousand of listeners that will stick with this bit and not spray muesli all over their radio.
And if
that's how old I am. I believe you're listening to this at breakfast, eating muesli on a radio. I mean, listening on a radio, not eating breakfast off a radio.
And if you do have any feedback on this, you can email Dar at layingdownthelore@gmail.com. He is welcome to all of your feedback.
Or you can post him a letter to his personal address at 50.
Anyway, where were we? That was suitably chaotic.
Indeed.
So that example, calling it back to Crimson Slaughter, formerly Crimson Sabres, gives you an idea of how chaos can take down a loyalist Space Marine chapter. That was, in fact, in that case, it was a chapter in its entirety. But then you have, as I said, companies, squads, individual squads, or in fact, individual Space Marines that go off and become Chaos Space Marines. Invariably, the most common type or the most powerful type of Chaos champion are Chaos Space Marine champions. And these are the ones that really, really cause the problems for the Imperium at large, because they have all the battle tactics of an Imperial or Imperium Space Marine, a loyalist Space Marine, and can apply it to any individual campaign or problem. So they are used quite effectively to take down planets or take down armies or fleets or aurora. So they are nothing but a boon to the forces of chaos to be able to corrupt a Chaos Space Marine champion.
Yeah. Space Marine.
I use the phrases like chapter and company here, but one has to be aware that it's very rare for a Chaos Renegade chapter of Marines to retain its structure. You have to have an enormous strength of will and purpose as the leader of that force to keep everyone in line. Because if your entire force has turned away from the singular rule of the Imperium, what's to stop your assault company from dedicating itself to Khorne and abandoning their brothers? You know, it's
a bit rowdy, I imagine.
Yeah, the traitor conundrum. Can you trust a traitor, or will they betray you as well?
Kral, can you trust a traitor?
Yes.
Excellent.
100%.
There we go. Problem solved.
100%.
Never met a traitor I haven't been able to trust.
Shh, don't tell people how we got this started. What tends to happen then is that companies and chapters break into that magical word of warbands, where your troops gather around or follow a kind of cult of leadership, a cult of charisma about an individual Marine leader, who then, inspired by the batshit visions of supplied by the Chaos Gods, go off and forge their own path. But when you break into a warband, most of the time, the leader is trying to achieve great feats to be able to be granted demonhood. So they're on the path to becoming a demon prince, and that's their primary concern. The fact that it aligns with the forces of chaos and disruption of the Imperium is a happy coincidence. They're really focused on their own personal glory, their own personal story. Segue! Chaos Legions have the longest stories within the Imperium in terms of being chaosy space marines. Now, as Chris quite correctly said at the start of this episode, there are 9 Chaos Space Marine Legions. Darren, why are you suggesting there's 21?
And a half.
And a half. So, all of the Chaos Space Marine Legions survived the Horus Heresy. Many did not, however, many were not in the same state as they were when they started. If we just kind of run through them, the Emperor's children had been corrupted by the promises and enticements of the Chaos God Slaanesh. Fulgrim, their kind of statuesque, beautiful leader, ended up as a 4-armed, snake-bodied, winged whore. And was able, and through the machinations of both himself, Slaanesh, the demon pantheon of Slaanesh, and the kind of chief apothecary of the Emperor's children, a very famous space marine called Fabius Bile, who I always refer to as Fabulous Bile. I don't know why. Surgically altered almost all of the Space Marine Legion into what's now known as Noise Marines. Or surgically augmented most of the Legion into what is now Noise Marines. These are Marines whose weapons are in fact guitars. So if you can think of the kind of glam rock days of the mid to late 80s, all of that kind of skinned, put round Chaos Space Marine armor, and the guitar is at the same time a guitar and a heavy bolter. That's what it is. They fire blasts of sonic noise, I suppose, sonic blasts at their enemy, which either cracks open their bodies and armor or kind of vibrates their insides into jelly. And all of the noise of battle they've been surgically altered, so their ears, when all this noise comes in, it resonates within the pleasure centers of their brain. So the louder and more explosive the situation becomes, the more, and I quote, rock hard the Chaos Space Marines of the Emperor children become, and thus more aggressive and more likely to blow stuff up.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall for the moment when Fulgrim walked into that apothecary, and there's just like Slash and Metallica posters everywhere, and there's just metal on the background. He's like, "So Fabius or Fabulous, what are you up to? What's happening? What are you creating, man?" There's a lot of guitars around here. I see. There's a lot of broken strings. What's going on? Lots of little speakers. What's the plan here? Like.
You used to be able to get a Chaos champion called Doomseeker for the Slaaneshi, a kind of Chaos Space Marine force of Slaanesh, who was a literal Hell's Angel, who was a noise marine on a huge motorbike, who would drive between dimensions and drag people to and from them. And it was very, very kind of Scorpion, if you know what I mean, the band. It was brilliant.
Love it.
So Noise Marines are part of the Emperor's Children, but this is an important kind of motif that will play through the conversation about Chaos Legions. Individual legions can have elements of the kind of the chosen of other gods as part of their force. And we'll talk about that when we get to the Black Legion. We'll deal with the big four first. So you've got the Emperor's Children, the Death Guard then, which are Mortarians, Space Marines. Mortarian became an insect-winged angel of death. He's covered in sores and plague sensors, but still very much looks as he did when he was a Primarch. He just has wings and looks a bit more pissed off and a bit more grimy.
Has this face mask as well, or was that just
he's got a gas mask on his, which has merged with his own skin.
Yikes.
His kind of go-to force are referred to as the Plague Marines, which are Space Marines that have been infected with a mixture of all kinds of diseases plus Nurgle's Rot. Nurgle's Rot is Nurgle's own disease, which in very many cases generates, or once it takes the life of a human, it turns them into a zombie, turns them into a plague zombie. In some cases, it depending on the nature of the soul of the person who is infected, they turn not into a plague zombie, but a plague bearer, which is a lesser demon of Nurgle. So the story of the kind of corruption of the Death Guard was they were on their way to the siege of Terra at the Horus Heresy, but they were becalmed within the warp by Nurgle himself, who, through one of the captains of the Death Guard, a chap called Typhus, was able to corrupt them with what's called the Destroyer virus, the Destroyer Hive, and that's what eventually Mortarion had to kind of beg Nurgle's help in saving the lives of his men. On the tabletop, the Death Guard is its own unique force. They have access to various corrupted vehicles and demons, Nurgle plus Plague Marines in both regular and Terminator armor. So these, you imagine the size of a Terminator Space Marine, which we discussed a few episodes back. Now one of them kind of bloated and suppurating and oozing, and also laughing madly while spraying everything with its own pus.
Jesus Christ. I mean, it's we talked about the Skaven before and their plague priests, and we were like, it's the same thing, isn't it? Like, even if you're fighting them, even if you win, you're fucked. Because the moment those things come near you, you can kill them, but you are coming away with a wart or two.
Yeah.
Just I mean, kill them or not, you're boned, aren't you? So it's kind of, as soon as you encounter one, nothing left to lose anymore.
So the best way to deal with it is just get the plague first, and then just get out there, and and that way they won't have anything.
Own it.
Yeah,
own it. Yeah,
roll with the punches.
Yes. The World Eaters, which was the Angron's troops, they were already well on their way to simply being bloodthirsty, lunatic, gladiator-style Space Marines, and in fact, they were that. Anyway, with some sort of semblance of control through officers. They remained a legion for as long as they could, but eventually they broke into individual war bands. on a planet called Scalathrax. They were fighting against the Emperor's children. And that's where Karn, if anyone has read the Horus Heresy novels, Karn the Betrayer, he snapped. He just surrendered to the nails, which is this kind of neural augment mesh that's literally hammered into the brains of World Eater Space Marines that where with the Emperor's children, where sound, or with Noise Marines, where sound activates the pleasure centers, the nails, if you're not fighting, activate the pain sensors. So very much like we were talking about with Crimson Slaughter, if they're not fighting, they're in pain. They have a migraine, which will make you.
They're not remove
Butcher's nails of Angron, right?
The butcher's nails, yeah.
Butcher's nails, but they're not the same thing, right? The butcher's nails was unique to Angron, and this is just a condition.
It's chapped. It's wide. The butcher's nails.
Butcher's nails for everybody's.
Yeah, it was a device used by
Flash sale.
the overseers of the planet that Angron landed on, the planet of Deshay. It was used to create better gladiators for their arenas. And what he did was he mandated its use across the entire Legion.
I love how they don't sugarcoat things. Like in today's world, in the real world, they would have called that something like the performance enhancing brain parts or something like that, and he will benefit in these ways. And there's like butcher's nails. You better get killing, otherwise you're going to be in pain.
Yeah.
They call a spade. I like that. I admire that.
So they effectively, the entire Legion descended into individual warbands of gladiator-style lunatics, led by the most gladiator-style lunatic within their areas. They effectively just became berserkers, as we would understand from kind of Viking lore. They just are lunatics in battle, and you better get them into the fight as quickly as you can. It's a force you tend to steer rather than command. Mr. Ben.
Right. Did Angry on like a hard on, but an angry on? Did Angron was he not like, no, you're not fucking off. You're in my squad. That's it. Like, did he not have anything to say about that?
Did he get angry?
His Legion. Did he get angry on?
Yeah, at this stage, he was already a Daemon Primarch. He had already been turned into, effectively, a bloodthirster. So his concern was with causing as much mayhem and death as possible. And that's really what the breaking of his Legion accomplished. That you end up with having war bands of World Eater Space Marines, very much like the Raiders or Reavers from Firefly, if anyone's watched the Firefly. They're you just point them at something and they'll destroy it completely.
So was it did he see it as beneficial?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Right, okay.
In terms of the kind of ongoing long war causes much disruption. Like, this is the point, the point a lot of people miss with Chaos Space Marines is, from their perspective, the Horus Heresy is still ongoing. That's what the long war is. One side has never given up. And that's
it's
chaos.
Quite long as well. I mean, as far as wars go, it's pretty well named. Like,
you're right. You're right up there. I mean, they're looking at the Trojan War going, that was me last week. Yeah.
Seems like a nice weekend break.
And I didn't hide in a horse.
Yeah.
Splitters.
Well, no, he did. They did, but they tauntauned it. They opened it up with a chain axe and then got kind of clambered in. Yeah, so that's the World Eaters. The final one of the big four really are the Thousand Sons, and these are the ones that have gone through the biggest change. They do have a warband style, much like Renegades and much like the World Eaters. However, it's based on the kind of idea of covens, because all of the leadership, all of the command staff of the Thousand Sons are magic users, or rather are psychers. So they use psychic capacity to be able to command not only their forces, but the power of the warp and disrupt the battlefield and enemies and so forth. Evil Gandalf. Think of that.
Nice.
Which is not Saruman. It's something else, but I don't know what. Anyway, their Space Marines, as I say, went through the biggest change using something called the Rubric of Ahriman, who was one of the kind of primo psychers within the Legion. he kind of went against the wishes of Magnus the Red, their kind of sad Primarch, and he wanted to stop the mutations that were happening in amongst the Space Marine legionnaires of the Thousand Sun. So he enacted this thing, as I say, called the Rubric of Ahriman, which sealed their armor closed, dissolved their bodies to dust, so that their armor is in fact hollow, animated by the ghosts of their own brothers, if you see what I mean.
Nope.
So
That's fucking mental.
each Rubric Marine, as they're called, is in fact simply a hollow suit of armor animated by the soul of the Space Marine that used to occupy it, with some dust in the feet. Yeah.
So is that all Thousand Suns are like that?
Everyone, all the Thousand Suns who are not magic users, that's happened to them. And that happened galaxy-wide.
Wow.
They get hand-me-down armor.
No. What do you mean hand-me-down armor? I don't understand.
You just said, oh, right, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. You said that armor is kind of imbued with the souls of their fallen brethren or something
No. Everyone that wasn't a psyker, those standard Marines, they were fucking melted inside their armor was sealed. They were melted, so they were just a pile of ash in the feet of the armor, but their soul remained and continued to basically act as normal in the armor.
If you're
it didn't then get given to a living Marine and they repurposed
No, not at all.
It's just a hollow.
It's empty suits of armor. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do that?
Because then the Space Marines would never be corrupted. They couldn't be physically corrupted because they don't have a physical manifestation.
That's cool.
No, they're ash.
Yeah.
You could try mutating ash.
What good is ash?
Well, just add a bit of water, and then you got yourself some nice clay, man. You can make yourself a cup or a.
Okay, so once you're just kind of there in spirit, why do you need armor at all? Just so you have something physical to you can actually grab your gun and shoot.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to pick up a bolter as a gun, as a ghost.
As a ghost. Yeah.
It's pretty hard to pick up a bolter as a gun as well, apparently.
But I mean, so that the process they went through is true both for Marines in power armor and Marines in Terminator armor. So you've got these huge Thousand Sun Space Marines, which are again just hollow suits animated by a ghost. That kind of Scooby-Doo villain kind of idea that destroys anything in front of it.
So if you were fighting one of these things and you split it open, it would just be an empty shell. There'd be nothing inside.
That's really the only way to kill them is to, and pardon the phrase, penetrate their armor, to crack open their armor so it escapes. The ghost escapes as kind of steam. Yeah. Please don't suck out ghosts.
Some heavy ghost, man.
No, sorry, sweetheart. No. There's no one else. It's just ectoplasm. So those are the kind of, that's really in a nutshell the kind of big four legions that followed the Chaos Gods. Lorgar became a demon prince, and in fact, amongst the Primarchs, there's arguments to be made that he was the one that caused it all. His legion became a kind of moralistic crusade where the chaplains, who are the kind of peacekeepers and disciplinarians of the Legion, became something called Dark Apostles. And so these are the evil Space Marine priests that travel the galaxy, converting the forces of the Imperium to worship of chaos, sometimes converting them from living to dead. And really, these are
killing them.
The word bearers then are the ones that are able to seed a lot of chaos cults with this kind of religious fanaticism for worshipping chaos gods.
And who was the guy? There was one of them that was a real bastard, wasn't there? You said that Lorgar was.
Take your pick.
Erebus. Yeah, Erebus. Yeah. We'll cover him when we do the word bearers in depth, because he's got a great story. He's a great villain of the piece.
Right. Okay.
Peter Pertuabo. Yeah. His Iron Warriors are perhaps the most disciplined of the Chaos Space Marine Legions. They do have warbands, but there is a hierarchy in place there, and they're siege warfare specialists. And really, what they ally with what's referred to as the Dark Mechanicum, which is the Chaos corrupted Adeptus Mechanicus, or Mechanicum from the original Horus Heresy, who merge machine and demon and flesh to create various types of Transformer-like beasts from the Michael Bay movies.
Half demon, half human, half robot.
Yeah. So you get Helldrakes, which are their aircraft, which looks like a robo-pterodactyl with hemorrhoids, and they're the ones that attack from the skies. That's a kind of aircraft kind of idea. But as I say, we'll cover the Dark Mechanicum. Perhaps when we do the Adeptus Mechanicus, we can have an attack on a few episodes for that. Yeah, so the Iron Warriors work sort of hand in hand with the Dark Mechanicum, although it's while they do ally frequently, it's of convenience more than anything else. The Night Lords, who are the kind of genetic sons of Dark Batman, or Evil Batman, they are much like the World Eaters. They are fanatics who focus on causing terror and fear in their enemies much more than hand-to-hand combat, even though they're extremely good at hand-to-hand combat. They look at a kind of fast-striking capacity. Conrad, who was their Primarch, is in fact now dead. And one of the few Primarchs to have been killed, but he was killed post-heresy. What happened was the Imperium sent out assassins to kill him, and he recognized one of them. He
knew, didn't he?
He knew, and so he allowed the assassin to get to him and to actually kill him. And his last words really were,
"Fuck you."
Yeah. No. I saw this coming. Why am I here?
You're taller in real life.
I didn't think you'd be a dude.
It wasn't a dude. It was a dudette. And
great.
He allowed himself to be killed because in his mind it vindicated all of the actions he's ever taken. Because he was fighting against the oppression of his own father and his father's kind of
father
Imperium descendants.
Yeah. Vindication's fucking useless when you're dead, though, isn't it?
Vindication. We move then to the Alpha Legion, who are by far the most cult-like of the Chaos Space Marine Legions. No one really knows whether it's one legion or war bands or some combination. My gut feeling is that Alfarius still has a real tight grip on all of his legionnaires and their many cults that they create. Wherever a Alpha Marine force goes, they leave behind them a spy network. And so they are kind of not only superlative warriors, but keen information brokers, and are able to corrupt planets from a distance through the manipulation of either imports, exports, or cults within or around that planet. An Alpha Legion force can take down a planet without ever stepping foot on it.
Cool.
That's how good they are at manipulation. Again, when brought to battle, they are just as good as any of the other Space Marines, but in general, they prefer to operate from the shadows, using small strike forces, acting through proxy forces, and the like. So they very much are the kind of how would you describe it? They're the big bad of the psychological thriller movement within the Imperium. If something goes wrong and there's no evidence of anything actually going wrong, or no evidence of why it went wrong, it was the Alpha Legion.
Who are you going to call? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, the other ones, yeah.
They're like the scapegoat of the.
Yes, yeah, very much. The final Chaos Space Marine Legion is that of the Black Legion, formerly the Sons of Horus, formerly the Luna Wolves. These were the genetic sons of Horus, the arch-traitor, famed of the Horus Heresy. At the close of the Horus Heresy, obviously, he was killed, and the entirety of the Chaos Force withdrew to the Eye of Terror, where there was internecine civil warfare between all of the warlords within what became the Black Legion, or as was still the Sons of Horus. Ultimately, through various tactics, Abaddon the Despoiler, who was the second in command, if you will, of the Horus Heresy, or the first captain of the Sons of Horus, he not only brought the Legion to heel through complete bloodthirsty kind of enforcement, but he was also able to capture the body of Horus and have it destroyed, because there were elements within the Chaos Space Marine Legions, in all of them, that were attempting to clone Horus so that they would be able to have their great leader back. Wow. And he ultimately decided that, no, that isn't the way. That didn't work. He wasn't strong enough. We need something else. And that's something else.
Me!
Him. Yeah, me! I'm not at all biased in this. So
big reveal.
After the destruction of the clone, the force was changed. They changed their name from the Sons of Horus to the Black Legion, and they painted their armor jet black with various kind of metallic.
How appropriate
bits, yeah.
Which came first, the naming or the painting black?
I think they painted it black and then went, hang on, you know we were going to call ourselves the Abadabadoos. Well, we're now going to change. We're going to go with
the Sunshine Legion. Just doesn't really fit anymore, does it?
The Rainbow Legion.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to laugh, Chris, but there is a Space Marine chapter called the Rainbow Warriors.
Oh, amazing!
Which is fucking awesome.
That's brilliant.
Is that legit or just fan made?
No, that's legit. It was one of the original 12 Space Marine chapters in the first edition of 40K. Was the Rainbow Warriors.
40K.
And are there?
Warriors.
Please tell me the paint job is rainbow.
Paint job is blue, like a navy blue, with a lightning bolt logo, but they have a rainbow painted right down the middle of their helmet. And I'm not going to mince my words there.
Stripe.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's so cool.
They look like Ultramarines, but with a Go Faster stripe. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So the Black Legion really is the one that sort of retained its legionness, although they do have warbands and they're able to gather warbands together. They still all answer to Abaddon, who at a moment's notice, if there's a bit of a rebellion in the ranks, he will just kill everyone. The Black Legion, much like the Word Bearers, Iron Warriors, Night Lords, and Alpha Legion, do have aspects or do have groups of Space Marines who dedicate themselves to other Chaos Gods. So the Black Legion does have contingents of Noise Marines, contingents of Plague Marines, and on the tabletop, these are painted in the kind of black armor of the Black Legion, but, have aspects of their color scheme painted appropriately associated with the individual Chaos Gods. The Black Legion, and in fact Abaddon, are the greatest threat to the Imperium of Man if you ignore all of the other great threats. The Tyrannids really are the greatest threat to all biological life, as are sort of the Necrons. But in terms of direct enemies of the Imperium, Abaddon is the big bad of the Imperium. He has carried out centered on an empire of demon worlds within the Eye of Terror. He has persecuted 13 Great Crusades, 13 Black Crusades against the Imperium. Each one has done something to set up the next one, whether it's destroy a particular world associate or destroy an imperial world, which then will allow them to conquer a few more the next time round, or to gain an artifact of power, which will grant Abaddon either an increase in personal power or a weapon to be used in the next Crusades. It should be of no surprise here that the close of the 13th Great Crusade, or 13th Black Crusade, saw the advent of the Great Rift, which broke the Imperium in two. Now, I'm not saying it was anything Abaddon did, but I'm not saying it wasn't.
My bet.
Well, mostly because no one knows.
Wars.
So yeah.
Oh, well, wasn't it the scapegoats? Wasn't it the Alpha Legion?
I'm sure we could blame the Alpha Legion. I'm sure we could find some aspect.
I think they'll happily accept responsibility for that.
Yeah. So with the advent of the Great Rift, we saw hundreds, if not thousands, of planets descend into the warp to either become corrupted or massive demon worlds. So in terms of the forces of chaos, the mortal forces of chaos, the Chaos Space Marine legions really are the big daddies of the efforts of the Chaos Gods, augmented as they are by the Chaos Renegade chapters and companies, the Lost and the Damned, which are the mortal human, the traditional human and mutant and abhuman forces, and indeed the aspects of the Dark Mechanicum and demonic forces that are able to come through the various warp breaches. All of these mean that a moment's notice, an entire sector could be under significant threat and fall to the forces of chaos.
Shit to bed. I have a question.
Go on,
Dar. This one's for you.
Yeah.
It's definitely not for Kral.
Hey.
40K. Who wins?
Who wins 40K? It's a great question. I think it's still going to be a stalemate between the Imperium and the forces of chaos. But that's really like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic in consideration of the Tyrannids. Because you have an entire Tyrannid kind of battle organism descending on the galaxy ready to hoover it dry. So if the Emperor can stay alive and or manifest physically from the warp, then the Imperium.
Interesting.
Otherwise, it's going to be the Tyrannids.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to say chaos, because that's, I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, what you've just described sounds like an insanely large and infinitely resourced, bastard of a force.
Yes, I mean, it absolutely is. But it's also biological, which means it's susceptible to the predations of the Tyrannids. Because what the Tyrannids do is, well, when we cover them, I'll show that the Tyrannids will actually just take over a planet, dissolve everything, much like the Life Eater virus, but instead of everything go on fire, they use all the genetic raw material to create new Tyrannids.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So it's very much like the zombies of the fantasy thing. A Tyrannid comes in, bites you, dissolves you, turns you into a Tyrannid.
Okay, I'm
copy and paste.
Sold.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, I'm with that theory. That sounds like the one.
Okay, let me ask the fucking questions this time at the end.
Okay.
Chris, favorite aspect of chaos?
It has to be, when you say aspect, do you mean what's my favorite thing about the concept of chaos in general?
Yeah.
I like the kind of paradox that they are both a better option of living as a human. At the same time, you're sacrificing everything. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
That paradox. It basically just highlights how shit it is to be an Imperium citizen.
Yeah, it's total freedom.
Absolutely. At the cost of everything, which just sounds like very, very paradoxical to me, which intrigues me.
Yeah. Mr. Ben.
I think it's definitely the Chaos Marines. They're just, especially because they come in so many different forms. You know, I think my understanding of what 40K is more in the Heresy era in 30K, where there's just fucking hundreds of them, hundreds of thousands of them, millions of them, and they're all over the place.
Billions, even.
Trillions. There are trillions of Space Marines. But like now, you know, in kind of modern day 40K, they're like, do you know what I mean? They're not very common, and so you describing like a warband might be led by, you know, a warband of non-Space Marines might be led by a single Space Marine. I love that idea. It's like this warband that has this kind of like superhuman leader. Yeah, the fact that they fall to chaos is still quite a fascinating idea, because like we spoke earlier about like how they're corrupted. Or like how you would like corrupt, if you were like the sergeant in the Imperial Guard and then you were corrupted, how would you corrupt your mates? That fascinates me, because I'd just be like, no, I don't want that. That sounds awful. Like how morally fucked do you have to be like, oh yeah, I'm well up for some chaos. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, listen, like
put it in me.
There's a party on planet Wang 4, did you say? Let's fucking go there. Well up for that, like.
Yeah.
What about you?
Like, I love the idea, kind of tangentially to your position there, Ben, is the idea of chaos cults becoming so big that they can wash over the kind of loyalist institutions like a tidal wave. Because it epitomizes that statement of, you know, your government should be afraid of you, you should not be afraid of your government. It's that kind of thing, yeah.
What's the ratio of chaos, just regular chaos citizens, I'll call them, versus Imperium citizens?
It's somewhere between 1% and 5%.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah. They're still minority.
Yes, but that's Imperium-wide. I think that on some planets, once they hit 40%, they're able to take over, maybe even less than that if they own the military. It depends very much on how much you need to be able to take over a planet in the version that you want to take over. Do you want to take over religiously or, militarily? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice. Right, we've got to wrap up.
Yep.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, that was it.
Cool. All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules, merchandise, and you can sign up for the Laying Down the Lore newsletter, which includes exclusive info about upcoming releases, behind-the-scenes chat, and some extra lore not covered in the podcast. Again, if you are keen to support this podcast, just click on the support us link in the description and give us all your goddamn money. We'll be back again soon displaying just how little Chris and I know. Until then, is chaos a noun? Chaos is a noun, right?
Yeah.
In the context of 40K, it is a noun.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Kill your masters.